says, I don't agree with this, that's great, but tell me why. Tell me why you don't agree with it, and then say, was there anybody else? If 3 other people put their hand up and say, gee, I'm not quite sure, Coach, we got this right this week. Okay, let's talk about it. Now, I may be changed. You know, I might think, well, I'm thinking this is the best way we can do it. So, well, remember we had success against this team last year, or 2 years ago we did this, and we still think they're vulnerable. That might be a good point. I don't think a coach should ever be in a position where he feels threatened or afraid to make a decision to change. You know, don't ever be afraid to change. Listen to what your players are telling you, particularly at this level. And I'm referring to the elite level, I guess. Listen to what your players are telling you, and understand that there just may be some people there who can help you learn a little bit more. The coach should never sit there and say, well, look, just because I'm the boss, this is the only way we can do it. Be flexible, be understanding, and be prepared to make a change if you think it's best for the team. Don't sit there and say, well, no, and be stubborn and arrogant and ignorant and say, no, I'm the boss and this is the way we're going to do it. Because I reckon if those guys leave the room and they're not convinced, you're going to have problems in your practice. We're going to have problems in your practice session. You're going to take the field and you're probably not going to play as well as you should play. And they'll come back to you the following week and say, well, this is what we thought.
Told you so.
Yeah, sometimes everyone will agree you don't play well. That happens plenty of times.
Just moving on to another thing that's in the modern game now, of course, and you talked about it before, the left and right players. Does a left side team, can they make a right side team? Are they specific to that area? Do they play better in those positions?
Some players can play left and right. Some players don't mind. I always talk to players, particularly start of each year, if I don't know them very well. And by that, I suppose I'm talking about guys that are new to your club. And I'll say, I notice you've played left side where you've come from. Oh, yeah, but I'm really a right side player. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Or I don't really care. Or I prefer to play left. I've got players who I've coached over the years who absolutely couldn't go past the middle of the field. They didn't have a clue what to do. So they've been exclusively left or exclusively right. What you've got to do with that type of player is gradually introduce them to some drills where they can go past. It's almost like falling off when they thought the earth was, once you got the horizon you dropped off, it wasn't round. You do have players like, I've got to say, that doesn't appear quite as much today as we speak. But some players have a preference. Why? If you're left-sided player, you probably step off your left foot. You can probably either step back inside off that, or you like to run the in and out off your right foot. You could be a left-hand carry, you might be a right-hand fend, so you tend to get the fend on the inside man. That's really handy for both in and away, or stepping off, you step back against someone and push them away. Some players talk about which shoulder they prefer to tackle on. I find that argument is a difficult one because I tend to think that whether you're left or you're right, you're going to use both shoulders anyway. But some guys talk about inside shoulder, outside shoulder. You'll play against certain teams who will come. You could be left three from the sideline, third man in. And last week everyone targeted your outside shoulder. This week they target your inside shoulder. So I'm not sure that's a valid argument, but some players use it. I like the players who say, look, I don't mind. I prefer to play here, but if the team needs me to go the other side, I'll go the other side. What's different about it is that it's more, in many respects, it's a psychological thing, not a physiological thing. It's where they've mostly played their best games. Some players say, I always play well on the right. I go across the left and I get lost. Or they want to play with a certain player. If a player like Andrew Johns is not a great example because he can play both sides and he can attack both sides. So if you're a left or right player, you're going to get your even share of possession. But let's look at our side. Johnny Sutton probably prefers to play left. So some players prefer to play off him. Ben Walker's quite happy playing right. Some players prefer to play off Ben. And that can sometimes influence the side that a player likes to play. When you run drills, I spoke about that left versus right.
I've just written drills down here. I guess it all goes back to that drill thing you were saying.
Yeah, when you go back to drills, some people they haven't practiced there enough. I remember one day speaking to Shannon Hegarty, And I said, mate, I may need to move you to the right side. And he said, oh gosh, he said, the last time I did that, I was playing for the Roosters, and I was told on match day that I had to go to the right side. And he said, I had a nightmare as a winger. And I said, well, in what way did you have it? He said, oh, they scored a couple of tries down the side and I dropped a football. He said, I just wasn't prepared. So I said, okay. I said, so does that mean that you'd never want to play right side again? He said, oh no, but I'd need to practice there for a while. I'm quite happy to do it again. But and that's what happens. Some players remember, one instance, and straight away they develop this phobia. And I think you've got to help them overcome that. You've got to say that there really isn't that much difference whether you're a left or right side player. But I guess a fast bowler likes to bowl with the wind and not into the wind. Yet there'll be a bowler who can bowl better into the wind because he can swing the ball a bit more, and you've got more chance of swinging it if you bowl into the wind. I guess some bowlers like bowling. I'm just trying to use an analogy of other sports. Some bowlers like bowling to left-handed batsmen more so than right-handed batsmen, and vice versa. I don't know. I think it's one of those areas that you can actually overcomplicate if you're not careful. And whilst we do play, left side back rower, right side back rower, left centre, right centre, left winger, right winger, and generally your pivots will split to either side. You'll have one patrol on the left, one patrol on the right. I think it's important that they have an adaptability. I think they're the sorts of players that really can be better value to your team. Yet if you've got a match winner, and I can remember coaching an international once at an international player at St Helens, a guy called Paul Newlove. It was a tremendous set of three-quarter. Well, the 50, he couldn't go past the halfway. I'm talking about laterally now.
As an international player.
As an international player. Yet he could score a try out of nothing. And he was a brilliant player, prolific try scorer, and everybody knew what he was going to do, yet he still did it virtually week in and week out. And yet he just had this fear of going past there. And I don't remember him ever playing on the right side. Yet he was one of the most prolific try scorers. So if you've got that sort of player, I'm not saying you're going to be able to change him, but I think there's other people who need to be more adaptable.
Tell me this, Shaun, you often hear the comments made on TV, and they'll say like the left side's not weak, but they're finding holes in the left side. How do you perceive? Is it just a bad read that left side has got, or what's it?
Could be a bad read. It could be that side's had to make more tackles. I mean, sometimes as a coach, you've got to be prepared to swap your left and right defenders over, and that can be an issue in itself because a lot of players like defending next to certain players. They get used to talking to that person. They get to know them. They develop a relationship with that person. But sometimes the left side can be attacked. They'll hold that sort of 20-30 metre corridor, and they'll just keep chipping away at that left side. And then all of a sudden, there's a lot of juice goes out of them. A lot of the fatigue factor comes on a bit quicker. They haven't quite got the same power and purpose when they run the football because they're still recovering. So sometimes when breaks are made against that, it is often a fatigue thing. There's two ways. One is you get them off and you utilise your bench. The other one is you start to rotate your left and right defence. They're both, the rotation policy of bringing some right side defenders over to the left, if they haven't worked, is sometimes fraught with danger because it also limits your attacking ability. Because you can't just say to the bloke, you go back over there when we get the football, it just won't work like that. Yeah. So sometimes there's a spot player who's just not strong enough defensively, and they know that they're going to go to him. You tried to hide that person, or you can't hide a person, but you try to protect him, I suppose, by putting him either outside the winger or in between the winger and the centre, and it'll generally be a pivot sort of player. Sometimes that person just doesn't aim up. Sometimes somebody jumps the line. Sometimes they just misread. They just misread a situation. Or sometimes the play was just that good. There wasn't much you could do about it. Somebody runs a great angle. Somebody throws a super pass. Somebody chips over into a sort of a neutral zone, grubbers one through, and you say, well, I've said it plenty of times to our players, guys, there's nothing you can do about that. But you
can't defend against that, can you?
Some things you can't defend against. We talk about tries. If we spoke about being able to defend everything, tries would never be scored. That's not going to happen in our game. So you just need to be conscious of it, and you need to continually address it every week. Something that I say to our guys, understand you're a spot, understand people are coming to you, but respond to it. The best way to respond to it is to encourage it, not to have a fear factor of being involved, and not to think, oh gosh, they're coming our way. Actually encourage them to come your way. So you try to make it into a strength.